Hi, I'm Don Griffith, and I'm here with Scott Walshler from Technological Solutions, the president of Technological Solutions, LLC. And we are a life cycle partner of people that are implementing telepresence solutions. And Scott, can you go over and tell me what telepresence is and how it differs from video conferencing?
Absolutely. The traditional video conferencing field as we know it right now usually has a lot of still frame images strobing at a very slow rate. And basically what you've got is you've got one individual on one side of the conference, one individual on the other, and they're looking at talking heads. Now with telepresence, it's fully collaborative. You can share what's on your computer, you can share multimedia presentations, you can see real-time flowing natural video, and it will seem like you're sitting across the table rather than like a video conference.
Wow, so it provides you with so much more interactivity.
Absolutely interactive, yes.
Great. Well, Technological Solutions is a lifecycle partner in the installation, training, and support of a telepresence solution. And Scott, can you tell us a little bit about your class and how it differs from other classrooms and how you're a little bit more hands-on? Absolutely.
My classroom is based on kinesthetic learning. And kinesthetic learning means you learn by doing rather than by having somebody sit at a podium and teach you things. Now, don't get me wrong, I do use lecture, I do use demonstration, I use interactive laboratory environments, and I use quizzing as part of my learning procedures. However, I am fully committed to kinesthetic learning. I would say a minimum of 50% of my training is done as hands-on exercises.
Yeah, and we've been told by several Cisco managers that the classes that you supply get people certified through the Cisco certifications at a much higher rate than other classrooms. Tell us about when CEOs or CTOs or CIOs choose a telepresence solution, what are the installation issues that come up when people come to your class?
Well, the number one installation issue we have, and I hear this from about 30% of my students, is how they become the video conferencing expert. A lot of my students, I shouldn't say most, but a good portion of my students do come to me and I ask them, how did you become involved with video conferencing? A lot of them simply answer, well, one day my boss pointed at me and said I was involved with video conferencing, and that's how it happened.
Right.
So we're finding out the main barrier to a proper installation is going to be the knowledge and the education of the technical staff. Now, that doesn't mean they're not professionals. They are professionals in their fields, but usually those fields are audio-visual engineering and, of course, IT engineering.
So you've walked into many people that you've seen where they purchased a telepresence solution, and you see what? A bunch of stuff in a box, a coat rack?
A little bit of both. I go into installations, and very often I'll see just cardboard boxes stacked up and absolutely no engineering plan, no design plan, no network schematic, no configuration information. And basically when you walk in there to that environment, it's up to you to figure out what is best for that organization to deploy, which is not always easy to do considering you're not necessarily part of that organization. So one of the things I like to do is I find out who the people who are going to be the experts, and I like to get them involved very early. And I'll start off every installation with a series of questions to try to determine how best to deploy their network for them. As far as the coat rack is concerned, I always walk into places where the users are not necessarily comfortable with video conferencing. Now, user acceptance is going to be your number one barrier to ROI. Your return on investment can happen if users aren't using these tools, and users won't use the tools they're afraid of. So a lot of times what I'll be called in to do is I'll actually be called in to get the end users familiar with the most basic aspects of telepresence, and of course allowing them more hands-on under somebody's supervision where they're not afraid to try things, where they'll ask, hey, will I break it if it does this? And when those sessions are over, they're no longer afraid to use it. They're actually very happy to use it, and the vast majority of the cases they find that it adds to their job performance.
Bottom line, when a CIO, CTO, CEO purchases the telepresence solution, they want to achieve ROI.
Absolutely.
What are the ways they can do that?
Well, there's a lot of different ways ROI is achieved through telepresence. First one, obviously, is monetary. It keeps people off of planes. It keeps people out of cars. It actually enables them to be more productive in performing their job. Imagine your top salespeople. Your top salespeople go out and they're shaking hands all day, and they're meeting customers, they're greeting customers, they're joking around with them, building relationships, because that's what sales is all about. How much of their day is actually spent behind a windshield and behind a steering wheel versus sitting in front of their customer? Your top salespeople can use video conferencing and telepresence specifically for those customer relationship calls, just to drop in, just to say hi, to maintain that connection, to keep them in their customers' minds. There is a very, very good ROI on lack of travel in productivity. Now, of course, in the consulting world, say engineers who do consulting as well as architects and other type professionals, when they're doing consulting, a lot of times they're going to have to travel to the site. However, very frequently, they can avoid a plane trip. They can avoid a week away from home by holding meetings and holding conferences and planning sessions and project group meetings over video conferencing. This actually adds another aspect of ROI, actually two more. One is the environmental effects of all that travel. Your carbon footprint is decreased immediately when you're holding these conferences over video rather than in person. And number two, of course, you've got consultants that are top professionals in their field that are no longer away from their families all week, every week, that are no longer on the road, that are no longer stressed out by having to travel and losing productivity by being in a car or in an airport. And you'll find that your workforce becomes a lot more satisfied and a lot more glad that they're part of your workforce.
Yeah, absolutely. And none of that can be achieved until the customer or the corporation or the government agency has acceptance of the technology.
Absolutely.
Talk about how technological solutions helps in having customer acceptance.
Sure. Well, first, if it's deployed correctly, if you have the correct deployment procedures, if you've got a good, simplistic design that's easily understood, easily scalable, easily repeatable, then you can actually create a situation where operating the telepresence engines becomes less of a chore and less of a frightening perspective to the less technical savvy amongst your workforce. One example that you can do is to have a proper dial plan. Now, a proper dial plan is very, very widely underestimated as being a crucial component to a telepresence deployment. If you have a proper dial plan, everything else is easier. Network management, bandwidth management, call control, addressing schemes, deployment, everything is much simpler. And of course, your end users do not want to change their habits. So the best way to have a proper dial plan is to begin with the dial plan that exists. You don't want them to change their habits. If they do have to change their habits, they're going to be less likely to accept it. Once you have a simple operating network, as simple as possible, as easily flowing as possible, then you can get your end users in there, show them how to place a call, show them how to request a conference to be set up if you have schedulers dedicated to that. And you can actually get them in front of the endpoints and have them create conferences, have them move cameras around, do all the things that will make their experience a lot better, a lot more collaborative, versus just having somebody say, hey, great, we got video conferencing now, you enjoy that. Which is what happens, and that's when you end up with your very expensive coat racks.
and having technological solutions involved, it really lends to that. Scott has had many sales teams that have sold telepresence solutions to corporations and government agencies that come to him for customer acceptance because he's going to be the one that's going to educate them properly, help them with the installation support, help them with ad hoc user support so that they're comfortable with the technology, comfortable deploying the technology throughout their agency or corporation so that they're achieving ROI. So everybody wins in that instance. So basically, when you're looking for training, when you're looking for installation support, when you're looking for ad hoc user support, it's great to have a partner, a lifecycle partner that understands the whole ins and outs of the whole telepresence solutions. And that's exactly what Technological Solutions does. We'd love to work with you. If you want to get in touch with us, give us a call at 800-432-0738, or you can go out to our website at teknowlogical.com, at teknowlogical.com, and we'll be there to support you through the life cycle of your telepresence installation. Thank you for attending this webinar, and we look forward to working with you.